The rain was falling so hard that night, it felt like the entire city was trying to wash away its secrets. I was driving home, exhausted, with a total stranger fast asleep in my passenger seat. I had no clue that in just a few hours, my world was going to turn completely upside down. I thought I was just doing a good deed by helping a stranded girl get home in a storm. I had absolutely no idea I was about to knock on the front door of the one person who held my entire career in her hands. My ruthless boss. Before we unpack this unbelievable night, if you believe that a single act of compassion can rewrite someone's future, please take a moment to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our channel. Your support keeps these stories alive. My name is Ethan Cross. Back then, I was working as a mid-level graphic designer at a high-end marketing firm. To anyone looking in, I had a stable life, but internally, I was burnt out and deeply lonely. I grew up shielding my younger brother through a chaotic childhood, and though he had moved across the country years ago, I still carried that heavy, protective anxiety every single day. I buried myself in pixels and deadlines just to keep my mind quiet. My biggest source of stress was Victoria Sterling, our lead creative director. Victoria was a force of nature, brilliant, icy, and completely unreadable. She demanded absolute perfection and treated emotions like a corporate weakness. Disappointing her usually meant packing your bags. That Friday, after pulling a 12-hour shift, I was driving through the flooded downtown streets when I passed a closed art gallery. Huddled under the leaking awning was a young woman in a ruined evening dress. She was soaked to the bone, barefoot, and crying quietly as her phone died in her hands. Normally, people in the city mind their own business, but seeing someone look so utterly abandoned triggered that old instinct in me. I couldn't just drive by. I pulled over and rolled down the window. "Hey, do you need some help? It's freezing out here." She looked up, her makeup smudged, and let out a hollow laugh. "I think I ruined everything tonight," she whispered, shivering. She wasn't just cold, she was emotionally shattered. I opened the door for her, and she climbed in, smelling faintly of alcohol and rain. As we drove, I tried to calm her down. "I'm Ethan, by the way." She wiped her face and stared out the dark window. "Chloe," she murmured. "Chloe Sterling." The last name didn't click right away. She began talking to the glass, pouring her heart out. She told me how she had spent her whole life trying to be an artist, but her mother viewed her passion as an embarrassing hobby. Tonight, after a massive argument, she had been told she would never measure up to the family name. I didn't interrupt. I just drove and listened. Sometimes, people don't need a lecture. They just need an anchor. When we finally pulled up to the address she gave me, my heart dropped. It was a massive, gated estate in the most exclusive part of town. I helped Chloe to the porch and rang the bell. When the heavy oak door swung open, my jaw froze. Standing there in a silk robe, looking frantic and exhausted, was Victoria Sterling, my boss. The silence was deafening. Victoria's eyes darted from me to Chloe, who immediately burst into tears and stumbled into her arms. "I'm sorry, Mom." In that split second, the terrifying corporate executive vanished. In her place stood a terrified mother who gripped her daughter like she was afraid she would disappear. Victoria looked at me, her usual icy gaze replaced by raw vulnerability. "What?" she asked. I kept it brief. I told her I found Chloe stranded downtown in the storm and wanted to ensure she made it home safely. Victoria closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and looked directly at me. "Thank you, Ethan." Hearing those words from her felt surreal. That weekend was a blur of anxiety. Walking into the office on Monday, I was fully prepared to find a termination letter on my desk. I figured Victoria wouldn't want someone around who had seen her walls crumble. Instead, mid-morning, she asked me to step into the office courtyard. She didn't look at me at first. Then she turned and said, "You looked after Chloe when she was at her lowest. Most people would have avoided the trouble." "I just did what was right," I replied. Victoria nodded, a soft expression crossing her face that I had never seen before. "I owe you an apology, Ethan. I've built a life around being bulletproof, and I forced that same impossible standard onto my daughter and my team. I forgot that we are all just human beings trying to survive." From that day on, the shift in the office was undeniable. Victoria started listening more and criticizing less. She actually began leaving on time to have dinner with Chloe. A few months later, Chloe stopped by the studio to drop off some lunch for her mom. She saw me and smiled, looking healthy and vibrant. We ended up talking in the break room, and she told me she was finally setting up her own independent studio. You know, Chloe said, you saving me that night actually saved my relationship with my mom. Why did you stop for me? I smiled, thinking of my brother. Because I know what it's like to feel like you have to face a storm all by yourself. A year later, at our firm's annual gala, Victoria took the stage. Instead of reading off profit margins, she spoke about teamwork, empathy, and mental health. Then, she publicly thanked me for teaching her that corporate success means nothing if we lose our humanity along the way. Looking back, I realized that the rainy night didn't just change Chloe's life or Victoria's, it healed something deep inside me too. It reminded me that the universe has a strange way of placing us exactly where we need to be, even if it starts with a storm. We ended up talking in the break room, and she told me she was finally setting up her own independent studio. You know, Chloe said, you saving me that night actually saved my relationship with my mom. Why did you stop for me? I smiled, thinking of my brother. Because I know what it's like to feel like you have to face a storm all by yourself. A year later, at our firm's annual gala, Victoria took the stage. Instead of reading off profit margins, she spoke about teamwork, empathy, and mental health. Then, she publicly thanked me for teaching her that corporate success means nothing if we lose our humanity along the way. Looking back, I realized that the rainy night didn't just change Chloe's life or Victoria's, it healed something deep inside me too. It reminded me that the universe has a strange way of placing us exactly where we need to be, even if it starts with a storm. If this story brought a little warmth to your day, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs a reminder of the good in the world, and subscribe for more original stories. Before you go, drop a comment below with the phrase, "Compassion heals." Let's see how many of us still believe in the power of looking out for one another. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you in the next story.